Okay, so today I'll be giving you guys an introduction to the RuneScape EOC Beta. Um, as you can see, I have all three combat styles on me, but not the armor for both, but it's relatively low-level monsters, so having the appropriate armor isn't that big of a deal. I got a crystal bow, and I have my BGS with me, and this is just to help get kill count as I was doing a Zammy trip, and I did not want to use blood runes for the majority of the trip, just because I'm fiscal, um, or frugal rather. Excuse me. Alright, now for Mage, I'll give you a quick run through on all your abilities. You have Rack, and it's just a powerful spell. It inflicts your spell damage and a little bit more if they happen to be stunned. This is your Filler. This is the ability you'll use when you're between abilities. Impact, this is a stun, and if they're not stunnable, such as bosses, it will deal damage to them equal to 188% of your spell damage. Um, Next you have Combust. Combust is just a damage over time ability, so you can throw it on there and it does damage, and then it allows you to just keep dealing damage while you're not. So it's just a way to help spread out your DPS so it's more sustained. You have Chains. Now Chains, all it does is it hits a target and then it splashes the two nearby targets. This is one of your AoE moves, along with Dragon's Breath. Dragon's Breath is just a cone of fire, which means like if I were to use it like right here, it would split like this way and this way. But the annoying thing about Dragon's Breath is they have to be in melee range for your active target to be hit. And so on some fights, it's just kind of annoying. Next, you have Surge. Surge is probably my favorite spell, not because it does damage or anything, just because it lets you, like, poof all over the place. But unfortunately, you can't use it to go through walls. Now, for your threshold abilities, you have to be above 50 adrenaline. Your adrenaline bar is this right here. You have Wild Magic, and what it does, it just deals between 25 and 250% of your active spells damage, and it hits twice. So, you can wind up dealing up to theoretically 500% spell damage, just like, uh, which is a little bit more of an omnipower will deal. And then your other threshold ability is Asphyxiate. Asphyxiate really isn't that useful in my opinion. It's more for like big fights where everything's on cooldown, you're just trying to dump adrenaline. Um, I'll use it on Krill a little bit, but for the most part, it's really not that effective. Um, And then we have Omni Power, Metamorphosis, and Tsunami are your ultimates. Omni Power is if you're up against one target, and it's kind of big like a Slayer monster, and you just want to get it over with quick. Um, it doesn't really do much. I mean, it does a lot of damage, but it's not really for like God Wars or anything. For that, I'd prefer Metamorphosis. Just because your magic damage increased by 50%, which means all these abilities are going to deal more damage. And it also causes your auto attacks, which are now your barrages and everything like that, to not use runes. Um, so, you just kind of save some cash by not using runes, and it allows you to do more sustained damage because you're able to cast more stuff at higher damage. And then lastly, you have Tsunami. And Tsunami is just like your AoE ultimate. It helps you deal a lot of damage to everything around you, and unlike Dragon's Breath, they don't have to be in melee range to use it. And then lastly, you have Regenerate, which is just kind of like sustain when you're out of combat, which helps you basically not need food down here. So I'll go ahead and give you a quick rundown on like how to use the new EOC on a werewolf because it happens to be like one of the easiest targets down here to like showcase this on. Alright, now so I'm going to start off just using like my auto attack, and as you can see it doesn't do much. So your rotation for mage is going to be rack, and then you want to go to your stun, and you want to rack again, and then you want to combust, and then you're going to want to rack, and then chains, and then rack, and then you're going to want to use your threshold ability, which is wild magic, and you're basically just going to repeat this again. So, rack, ability, rack, ability. Um, Chains isn't the best thing to use at God Wars, especially if you're getting kill count, because it's going to make a bunch of stuff attack you, and it's not very good. Like, see right here, I just got a spiritual warrior on me by accident through chains. Um, it's just the same thing. It's rack is your filler move, and then you just kind of use other abilities as needed. Next, this is your Omni Power ultimate, and it just kind of just kind of whacks them with damage. It's no big deal. Um, Now, for your ranged, you have your piercing shot, which is your filler. It just deals damage, or damage if they're stunned. So you're just going to use that first every time. And then you have Binding Shot, which stuns them, and then just like the other mage ability, if they're unable to be stunned, it deals weapon damage. You have Ricochet, which is just like Change, it hits it and then bounces and hits two other things. And then you have your Fragmentation Shot, which it just fires a shot, and it deals weapon damage over 6 seconds, just like Combust, but if they move, they suffer 3 times the damage. So, in PvP, or any type of Slayer task or whatever, if they're kind of big monster, or even God Wars, if you can hit them with that, and then get them to move, it's free damage. And then lastly, of your basic abilities right here, you have Snipe, and it's a combo attack, which means you can't use anything else while it's going off. But if you hit it after 3 seconds, it's going to deal a ton of damage. It's like it's your main ability in the rotation next to Piercing Shot. Like if Sniper's up, you want to use it no matter what. Then your thresholds are Bombardment, which just fires a volley of arrows into the air and they come down raining. So basically, this is like Dragon's Breath or Chains, and the fact that it's an AoE, and you don't want to really use it when there's a lot of monsters around getting kill count because it becomes really annoying. And you'll wind up pulling like Spiritual Mages or something if you don't have the Slayer form, or something strong against your combat style, and you'll take unnecessary damage. You have Snapshot, which is your threshold ability. This is actually the magic short bow's special attack made into an ability. And then you also have your Escape, which, is like Surge for Mage. It just moves you back 10 yards. And then your ultimates for range are Unload, and which is more of like a dual wield thing because it requires both to shoot. And then you also have Incendiary Shot, which it just shoots them, and then after 3 seconds it chunks away 40% of their health. And so it's really nice. And then you also have Deadshot, and it's like Omni Power in the sense that like you just shoot them, and then it does a little bit more damage. So like it's good against, excuse me. So Deadshot is actually good against Slayer monsters and stuff where you just don't take them down fast, whereas Incendiary Shot would be more apt for a boss encounter. And so I'll just go ahead and showcase that against a werewolf. You're just going to Piercing Shot, Binding Shot, Piercing Shot, Ricochet, Piercing Shot, Snipe. You have to let it finish all the way. And then you're going to Piercing Shot again, Binding Shot, Piercing Shot, Fragmentation Shot, Piercing Shot, Rapid Shot, um, Piercing Shot again, Bombardment if you want to, although it's probably not the best idea down here. Um, Piercing Shot again, Binding Shot, Piercing Shot, Ricochet, Snipe because it's off cooldown. And then lastly, I'm gonna go ahead and use fucking Deadshot. And as you can see, the combat triangle plays such a huge role now in combat. Like it's taking me forever to kill this werewolf with ranged, whereas with magic, he kind of just died. And I also think I may have barrage selected as my auto attack, which can further cause problems. Go ahead and cancel that. Um, so now I'm just kind of hitting this werewolf and hoping he'll die soon, sooner or later. Okay, there he goes. Now for melee, um, is actually gonna be you have Slice, which is your filler. Um, so you just use it whenever you can. And then you're gonna have Backhand, which is your stunning move. You have Sever, which is damage over time. And it also reduces damage it deals, so if you're tanking a boss or something, it's a very useful move to have up because it saves you health in the long run. You have Kick, which is the same thing as Backhand. It's a strength move instead of an attack move. And then you have Fury, which is a 6-second combo attack, and you just kind of slice them up a bit, and it deals damage like that. And you have Assault, and it's the same idea as Fury, it just deals more damage. And then you have Quake. Quake is more of a PvP move, because it drains their defense, although it can be useful in PvM, but the damage is only 100%, and you drain some of the defense. And while defense is useful in the new EOC, the type of combat style you're using matters much more. but it wouldn't hurt to throw it in. Lastly, you have Hurricane. Hurricane's your threshold AoE. You just use it, and then you're going to spin around a lot and deal damage to all your adjacent targets. So, like, if I was right here and I used it, the werewolf and the blood velvet would be hit, but not the imp, because he was over here where the werewolf is standing now. Next, you have Slaughter. Slaughter is just a bleed, and it's a threshold ability. So you're going to bleed them, and again, if you can get them to move, it's free damage on them. It's no big deal. It's very helpful. And then your ultimate, I like Overpower for my ultimate in melee, although some people prefer actually, where's it at? Some people actually prefer Meteor Strike, and the reason some people like it is because this one deals 250 to 350% damage, whereas this one deals 200 to 400. So with this one, you're actually getting more sustained DPS because the window is smaller. So, you know, you're gonna average hit about 300% damage, while with this one, there's a much larger window, and so you can't really, I mean, I guess theoretically you'd hit 300 as your average, but with this one your window's smaller, so you're gonna hit, you know, closer to 300 more often than you will with Overpower. But I have big number syndrome and I just like to see big hits. Alternatively, if you're using dual wielding, you can also use Massacre, and it's just kind of like it hits them with both weapons and it causes damage and makes them bleed. But I prefer two-handing now. And then lastly, you have Dismember. It's just your dot, and I'll go ahead and show you how to use that really quickly. If there is a ranger around here somewhere, I can find a spiritual ranger. Well, a werewolf will do. So again, you're just gonna start off with slice. I mean, you're gonna stun him, and you're gonna slice him again. Yeah, and then sever and slice, and then you can cleave. Um, I don't particularly like to, just because I don't like using AoE down here because it can get nasty quick. And then, you know, you're above 50 energy, you want to assault, and then you're going to keep using your filler and your dismember move, your filler again, and they're going to die. And then you also have your rejuvenate down here. I like to keep it on my mage bar just because mage is my main combat style, and it's just going to heal you 200 for every like 10 points of adrenaline you have. Um, so there's a basic rundown of how the RuneScape EOC combat update looks and what you can expect to have from it. I might have more videos uploaded in the future on what to do with each one and like suggested items and everything like that. But there's not a whole lot that changed. It just you have to know which order to use your abilities in, and that's going to be the hard part learning for some people. Um, One more thing is on your gear. Some gear used to have strength mods on it, like your Barrow's gloves now, but instead they now give a crit bonus. And so what crit is it's a chance of critical strike dealing double damage. So it's like instead of getting like +2 bonus every time you hit, now it's like a chance to deal double damage on everything. So we'll have to wait and see if that's good or bad for your average damage output, or damage per second, DPS for short. And that's it for today, and I'll let you guys know next time I am uploading a video. If you guys